You know, words, they're powerful, right? They can build bridges or they can dig some seriously deep trenches. Today, we're going to dive into the really charged language of conflict by looking at two fascinating and super different stories. So, let's get right into it.
Think about it. At the heart of pretty much any conflict, from a tiny disagreement to a massive fallout, is communication. It's all about what we say, what we don't say, and, how it all gets twisted and interpreted. It's that classic tangled mess of they said, we said, that is just so tough to unravel.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're looking at a friendship in crisis. Then we'll decode the language of betrayal and see where that leads. After that, we'll switch gears to a father's pretty wild hoax, and finally, we'll talk about why all these words really, truly matter. Okay, let's jump into our first case study. And we're not starting at the beginning of this friendship. Nope, we're dropping right into the middle of its dramatic collapse. So here it is. This is the moment everything went wrong. Just one sentence, but wow, it is packed with so much hurt and betrayal. A friendship completely shattered because one person told lies about another. I mean, it's a situation a lot of us can probably relate to, unfortunately. And it all boils down to the specific words that were used. So, to really get what happened here between these friends, we kind of have to become language detectives. Let's break down the specific vocabulary used in this fallout, because make no mistake, these words were basically used as weapons. So let's just picture these as the friends at the heart of our story. Putting a face to the names really helps us feel the emotional weight of what went down here. Okay, first term up, backstabber. This word just nails what happened, doesn't it? It's not just about telling a lie. It's that specific, nasty act of hurting someone who trusted you, especially when they aren't even there to defend themselves. And of course, this kind of betrayal happens behind her back. That secrecy, that's a huge part of what makes it so awful. It's just so unfair, It's like an attack the other person has no idea is even happening. So a backstabber, working behind someone's back, what's their main tool? They badmouth the person. This is really the engine of the whole betrayal, just spreading all that negativity, criticism, and those lies. So you put those three things together, and you get a really clear and really toxic picture of what happened. So, after a betrayal like that, what happens next? Where does the friendship even go from there? Well, it's basically at a huge crossroads. And there are really only two ways this can go. Two paths that lead to completely different places. So here are the two possibilities. On one hand, you've got the on-again, off-again relationship. You know the type, super unstable, always breaking up and getting back together. Then, on the other hand, the split could be for good, a permanent end, no going back. And really, which path they take all comes down to one thing. Can that trust ever be rebuilt? Okay, so just hold that thought about lies and betrayal for a second. We're about to switch gears completely. We're going to look at another story that explores deception, but from a totally different and honestly pretty startling angle. And this time, it's not about friends, it's about family. So here's the main character of our second story. He's a dad, and he was seriously worried. His kids were driving recklessly, and he was terrified for their safety. He felt like he had to do something really drastic, to teach them a lesson they would absolutely never forget. And his solution? Well, it was this incredibly elaborate hoax. Let's break it down. The problem, obviously, was the reckless driving. The plan? He actually got the police involved to stage a whole fake scenario. And the goal was simple: scare his kids so badly that they'd finally be more careful. To pull it off, he had a cover story that the whole thing was being filmed for a TV show about sensible driving. It's a shocking amount of deception, right? But what's really important here is the motive. It all came from a place of wanting to protect them, even if the method was, well, questionable. Okay, so we've just looked at two very different kinds of deception. The first one was a lie meant to hurt someone, basically driven by malice. The second was this huge complex hoax meant to prevent harm, driven by this kind of twisted form of love and care. So why does it matter to look at them together? Let's take a step back and see the bigger picture. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just a vocabulary lesson about words like backstabber or learning how a hoax is built. It's really about emotional intelligence. It makes us look beyond just the lie itself and think about the intent behind it. When you can recognize these different dynamics, the difference between pure malice and totally misguided protection, it gives you better tools to navigate your own life and relationships. And all of this leaves us with a pretty challenging question, doesn't it? Both of these stories were built on lies. One lie was meant to tear someone down, the other was meant to protect. So what is the real difference between a lie that hurts and a lie that's meant to help?
And maybe more importantly, can a lie ever truly help in the long run? That's something to think about.